Hey, welcome back to the Dr. Jimbo Love Show featuring Seth Matthew. It is Saturday here in Denver, freezing cold. We got snow yesterday and last night.
I don't think people know what freezing is. I'm from Minnesota. This is literally a nice spring day.
This is a good spring day, really, in Minnesota. But it was pretty odd for us to get snow this late in the season, May 20th yesterday.
So. Yeah, we kind of need the moisture, though. It was nice. It rained for most of the day, snow. A lot of people came in to watch games last night, so it was a fun time here still.
Absolutely.
Weather didn't deter anyone, but yeah, we needed it.
Yeah, let's remind everybody where we're at. We're at Brothers Bar and Grill at the shops in Northfield. Come on down this afternoon. We've got some good games on tap. Hockey and basketball. Also, the golf is on right now. The third round of the PGA Championship. So you can watch that on all the different TVs. Seth will hook you up.
Yeah.
Anywhere, anyhow you want to sit and see, watch some golf with us this afternoon. So today we're going to talk a little bit about the NHL. The second game of the second round in the NHL have been completed. Game 3 starts tonight. The NBA Eastern and Western Conference Finals, we'll do a talk about that a little bit. And also, too, we'll talk about the first 2 rounds of the PGA Championship. Just before I came on, I was just telling Seth, Tiger's having a rough day.
Yeah.
He was +3. He made the cut, which was, just him making the cut is amazing. Unfortunately, through 9 holes, he is 6 over, so that puts him at +9 overall for the tournament.
Yeah, it just seems like he runs out of steam a lot of times. He starts out good enough to make the cut, but those last 2 days are pretty disastrous for him, especially this last tournament and now this tournament.
Yeah, and they even said that, they asked Tiger a little bit about how he was feeling, and he said the biggest thing for him is he's not practicing like he used to.
Mm-hmm.
He just can't do it. His body won't hold up. So, but he looks a lot stronger after these 5 weeks since we last saw him at the Masters, and we'll see. Tiger's such a draw, and they even said that the TV ratings doubled just as soon as they found out Tiger was going to play, and the attendance doubled as well.
Hey, it's good for the sport.
Yeah. All right, so let's go and let's do a deep dive into this Battle of Florida and some of these hockey series. We've got 4 going on. The Battle of Florida is the Tampa Bay Lightning and the Florida Panthers. The series is 2-0 Tampa Bay Lightning. Remember, the 2-time defending champion of the Stanley Cup.
Against this year's President Trophy winner, Florida Panthers.
Exactly. So this is a really good series. Seth, what do you think about it? What have you drawn from this?
Well, it'll be interesting because I don't know how much home ice actually plays an advantage in this series. I mean, you're in the same state. They don't travel much. It's kind of weird that they have a day off today. Today should have been the day they played. Mm-hmm. I don't know how the schedule works, but only Colorado's going to play tonight. But, Tampa Bay's looking like the back-to-back champs. They're playing amazing. Hats off to Stamkos, their captain. Him and Victor Hedman have really led this team. I think Stamkos is up there with Joe Sakic, Yzerman, as one of the best captains I've seen, especially in this generation going on. No knock on Landy, he's a great captain, but Stamkos is really leading them. No surprise here a little bit. Florida keeps playing from behind. They were doing that kind of at the end of the season, and they were making amazing comebacks, but when you get to this stage, you just can't do that. Florida made some great additions in Claude Giroux. We were hoping to get him here in Colorado, and he's done great from the playoffs. Mm-hmm. But they're a veteran team. They're going to be tough to knock out. Now they're going back to Tampa. Unfortunately, I think Tampa. I'm going to give Florida a game here, but right. I think Tampa finishes this in 5, even with how great of a season Florida's had.
Wow. That's something. That's saying something against the president, And again, you've said that the President's Trophy ends up being kind of a kiss of death when it gets to the playoffs.
Rarely do you see the President's Trophy winner, the team with the best record in the regular season, go on to win the cup. Now it's happened a couple times,
sure.
But last time, Tampa Bay hasn't been the President's Trophy winner the last 2 years, and they won the cup. They were 3 years ago, and they got knocked out in the first round.
Yep. Well, their second series in the East is the Rangers versus the Hurricanes. And unfortunately, the Rangers have failed to win a game. It's 2-0 Carolina. Carolina looks tough, huh?
Yeah, and I mean, they're a young team. They're kind of built like Colorado Avalanche, led by Sam Aho, who literally leads them in every category, goals, assists, and points. This is the lowest scoring series we have going in the NHL right now. It was 2-0 last game, and in the first game it was 2-1. the Rangers should just be happy to be there. I'm going to knock them a little bit.
Right.
I didn't expect you to get through Pittsburgh. Sidney Crosby had an injury. You made it through. But Carolina's a little bit more deeper, a little bit more quicker. And I'm just saying the Hurricanes are going to take this series as well. They're just overall a better team. I think that will be a scary matchup, Carolina versus Tampa. That's who I predict to meet in the East next round. We'll see if I'm right. Not sure.
Yep.
But yeah, that would just be. I just think the Rangers are outmatched in this one. They have a great goalie in Igor. I'm pretty sure he's going to win goalie of the year if they haven't announced it already. But you need to score goals, and you only have one in 2 games. That's not going to get it done.
Right. Well, we move to the West, and we've got the Battle of Alberta, Canada, where we have the Oilers versus the Flames. This series, the Oilers pulled out Game 2, 5-3, and the series is now tied 1-1. So a lot of intensity up there in Canada.
It cost me $188 in winnings last night because I had a parlay. I had the Flames in Edmonton as the final game, and I had the Flames picked. And even with Edmonton's comeback when they tied it 3-3 going into the third, I didn't see Edmonton winning this game. This series, though, is the most exciting series out of all of them. Most goals scored I've ever seen through 2 games. We had a 9-6 game in the first game, and then 5-3 to follow that up. High scoring,
a lot of goals.
Lack of defense, but it's just amazing. Connor McDavid, Leon Draisaitl from Edmonton, 2 explosive players, both producing. We'll see if they can hold up. Connor McDavid already has 20 points this playoffs, and we're only in the second round. He's on a great pace to, probably be the leading point totaler in this if Edmonton can continue.
Oh yeah, they keep scoring goals like this.
But Calgary has they have more depth than Edmonton ever does. Right now, Edmonton's relying on that first line. That first line is really holding them in games. But overall, they both came off 7-game series. I could see this one going 7, and I really think the depth of Calgary is going to push Calgary through Edmonton.
Interesting. Well, we'll have to see. And like we say, that's a Providence up there that's hockey crazy. Mm-hmm. And there's 2 teams representing them pretty well.
Well, it's good to see Canada teams in here. They've had early exits, minus last year when Montreal made it to the finals, then finished, I think they finished dead last this year. Usually Canadian teams lately have not been making runs in playoffs, so it'll be good to see them. There's going to be a Canadian team in the conference final. Yep. We may see a Canadian team in the Stanley Cup in back-to-back years, which hasn't happened in
let's hope
a little
not,
while.
Because that would mean
we get knocked out.
And then, of course, our last series is the Avs versus the Blues. We started out very well, had an overtime win, and then came out in Game 2, and the Blues got us 4-1. The series is tied at 1-1.
Yeah, and I know all Avalanche fans are thinking right now, are we cursed? We've been eliminated in the second round 3 straight years. Last year we swept the Blues in the first round, and then we lost in a 6-game series to Vegas. We've been growing. A lot of these guys have been here through a lot of the second round exits. Our coach said that they've learned. So I wouldn't say tonight's a must win, but this game or the next game, you got to win one on the road to put it back in our home favor. Yep. Must wins or put a fork in us, we're done. We have a great power play. We have the best power play in the Stanley Cup playoffs so far. Mm-hmm. We really need to draw some penalties. McKinnon, Landeskog, we need Rantanen, we need Cale Makar to step up. And the big question mark for us is Darcy Kemper. Like you said, we had an overtime game. Mm-hmm. Shouldn't have been overtime. We hit post 5 times. But, we had an overtime game. We almost tripled them, or we doubled them in shots. Mm-hmm. We set a record, or almost a record. We had the most shots in an overtime period to 0. It was 13-0 in overtime. Wow. And we still only won by 1 goal. Right. So we need Kemper to kind of hold us in there. We need to create some traffic in front of Bennington. And also, we need to actually want it. Looking at the Avs team in Game 2, it was not a team I recognized. They didn't go down low. They weren't fighting for the puck. They were playing safe. And, if you're going to win in this playoff hockey, you really have to go in. You need to go in the deep, dirty areas, and you need to lay the body out. And so I'm looking to see us bounce back tonight, and we'll just have to see how we come out.
Absolutely. Well, like you said, a good thing, if we can get a split, while we're on the road, we come back, then, like you said, the home field advantage and the home ice advantage is going to be with us here in Ball Arena. All right. Anything else that you have on the hockey?
No, just I hope the Avalanche tonight. I'll come down and watch it. We'll have it on with sound.
Excellent.
We need the win tonight. We need all the fan support. It's an away game, so obviously you can't go down to the stadium, but make sure you get to a bar, preferably here, Brothers Bar and Grill, Shops in Northfield, and come cheer on the team. The boys need us.
What time do they start tonight?
Tonight we're 6 o'clock because there is no other hockey game. We've been getting the late game for 7:30 over and over again, but we got 6 because we're the only game. 3 games tomorrow. The Avs get the day off, but come out and support your team.
Excellent. I agree 100%. And there's great specials down here at Brothers Bar and Grill, so don't be afraid to come in. Let's switch gears a little bit and move towards the NBA Conference Finals. We'll start in the East, and there have been 2 games played so far. The Celtics versus the Heat is the Eastern Conference champions for the championship. Game 1, the Heat won 118 to 107. The big turning point in this game was the third quarter. The Heat poured in 39 points, while the Celtics only managed 14 points. And I don't know, did you get a chance to see any of this game? Because I watched
Game 1 or Game 2?
Game 1.
Game 1, I got to watch it, and they looked better. Jimmy Butler
is just unbelievable.
No, I'm not his biggest fan.
Yeah,
but I do have to take my hat off to him. I think the big story of this series is it's the big 3 with one works. Now, when you go to Boston, it's Jaylen Brown, Marcus Smart, and Jason Tatum, and those 3 together are just fantastic. I mean, you used to have Kyrie Irving, and they got rid of him, and they're still back here.
Yeah, I think they're better now.
Yeah,
I really do.
I honestly am leaning toward the Celtics in this one for one reason. I just don't know who the big 3 are in Miami anymore. It used to be Duncan Robinson.
Yep.
He only got two minutes a game in the first round. Wasn't really getting a lot of playing time. He played 14 last game when they lost. Tyler Herro and Jimmy Butler are carrying, and Bam Adebayo. But I kind of like the Celtics' big 3 a little bit better than I like Miami's.
Interesting, yeah. And, Game 1, Butler was just, when we say he was unconscious, I mean, he was doing step-aways, just absolutely toying with Tatum when he was guarding Tatum. He blocked his shot in the corner. I saw a look on Tatum's face of kind of like, he was like, okay, I had enough of Butler. Butler ended up having 41 points. Hero ended up with 18. Tatum with 29 and Brown with 24. Game 2, a lot different situation. The Celtics win 127 to 102. Again, in this one, we see the 3 guys for Celtics, Tatum, Smart, and Brown. Tatum with 27 points. Smart and Brown both had 24 points. The difference, too, we have to mention here is Horford.
Yep.
Remember, Horford was not playing in the first game because of COVID protocols. Now, he only had 10 points in the second game, but if you watch the first part of it, you could see a major difference in the defense inside. Horford he's a force inside.
Well, and he's a veteran, but another guy you got to mention too for the Boston Celtics. He's coming off injury. He's missed a lot of games, but Cunningham, their center, he is a beast when he's healthy, and he's only going to get healthier. They're still limiting him on time. I checked the minutes. I think he only played 12 minutes last game. But the more he gets healthy, the more dominant force they have with him and Al Horford down low. And then you have your big 3. Miami has a lot to deal with. And, eventually Miami, they're going to put a fork in this team because they've been trying for a couple years now, and they're coming up short every time. Eventually, I'm waiting for the restructure because they said if they had an early exit. Now, this wouldn't be an early exit.
Sure.
But they're already talking about dismantling this team.
Yep. Well, Game 3 is today at 6:30 p.m. It's going to go against, the Avalanche. So if you're watching the Avalanche and there's a break between periods, switch over to the basketball game, or vice versa. When you're watching the basketball, switch over and watch some hockey. Let's talk a little bit about the Western Conference, and it has been all Golden State up to this point. Game 1, Golden State took 112 to 87. Curry, the Splash Brothers, 21-15. Poole ended up with 19. Thompson, 15. And then Wiggins threw in a nice 19 points. Luka was just not himself in the first game, only scoring 20 points. Dinwiddie with 17 points.
Well, you got to factor in fatigue for Luka. I mean, at the end of the day, he's trying to do this by himself. I mean, Dinwiddie's like a great support player, but he doesn't have another superstar to go with. When you look at Golden State's roster, you're looking at Klay Thompson, Steph Curry. Wiggins is really developed. I'm actually surprised about this because it's taken a long time to get there.
Yep.
And you have Jordan Poole, and let's not forget Draymond Green. They have so much depth. And the story of Game 2 really proved to me that Golden State just has more depth than Dallas. They were losing.
They were down by what, 17 points?
Yeah, and you know what happened in the fourth quarter? It wasn't Steph Curry to bail him out. He hit the dagger shot at the end. But overall, it was their bench that came in that put Dallas down. And so, Golden State's been my pick ever since I knew Klay was coming back and
Right.
Steph Curry's there. They've been my pick to win the whole thing. So I think Dallas is in a lot of trouble.
Yep. And Game 2 ended up being 126-117 Golden State. Now, in the first half, the Mavs made 15 three-pointers. Mm-hmm. Now, in the second half, they were held to 6. And you can see they kind of faded down the stretch. Curry had 32, Thompson 15, Poole 23. And then, as Seth was saying, Looney comes off the bench and pours in 21 points.
Yeah, and I think the big thing for the Mavericks, because if you look at the regular season, the Mavericks had the edge over Golden State all year. I think what really needs to happen, you need to have Jason Kidd kind of change it up a little bit, and you need to get that advantage back. I wouldn't be surprised if Dallas makes this a series, but a lot of it rides on Luka, and I just don't know how much he can do right now. He's carrying the team, and he's done it over and over again. Maybe he can continue.
Yeah. Well, he had 42 in Game 2. I mean, you can't ask much more for the guy. I mean, he's scoring 42 points. Brunson had 31, and maybe Bullock ended up with 21 points. But if these guys can kind of get their act together here, going back to the Dallas, is going to be a huge factor for them as well, the home court advantage.
So, hopefully it turns into a series. I mean, you're predicted to lose your away games in the playoffs. So, Dallas hasn't done anything. Now, they were trying to steal one, but if they win both their home games, we go back to Golden State at 2-2. Whole new series.
Got a new series. We end up with really a 3-game series at the end. All right. So, again, we've got some golf going on.
Yeah.
The PGA Tour Championship, the second major of the year, is in play at Southern Hills in Tulsa, Oklahoma. The purse for this is $12 million. Now, what did we say last week of what the purse was for the
Wasn't it $30
LIV?
million for the other one?
It's going to be $20 million.
$20 million.
$20 million each tournament. So this just shows you the disparity between the PGA and what this Saudi tournament is offering. Each time, and plus they only have to play 54 holes.
Yeah.
So we'll get into that a little bit more when we talk about some of the stuff with Phil Mickelson and Tiger, and there was a little a press conference where Tiger made some comments. We'll talk about more of that in a little bit. Notables not making the cut: Lee Westwood, Dustin Johnson, Scotty Scheffler, number 1 in the world. John Daly, we didn't expect him probably to, but it's just good to see him out there hitting it and ripping it and drinking beers afterwards. Adam Scott out of Australia, Zach Johnson, and Matt Wolff, the guy who's got kind of the weird kind of swing where he whips around, he did not make the cut.
Well, I had an interesting question for you. Mm-hmm. Now, how much does it factor in when you tee off? Because as you notice, during the day, even in Colorado, weather changes, wind changes. Now, how much does that factor in certain players getting cut? What if I tee off in the morning, there's no wind, all of a sudden I play a great round, I shoot -5, and then a big gust of wind, we have 25-mile-per-hour winds hit at 1 o'clock. Maybe that's when they teed off.
And that's one of the things that happens. Golf and weather are synonymous. So the one thing about the Saudi tour is they're talking about doing a shotgun start. Now, you know what a shotgun start means, that everybody would start at a certain hole, each foursome, so everybody would be teeing off at the same time. What you'd see is, somebody who starts on hole number 2 would then finish, on hole number 1, of course, and that's how the shotgun works.
How do you televise that?
That's another thing that is going to be tough to do.
If everybody's going at once, how do I watch them all?
You're gonna have these flips around, and you're gonna be looking at the ones, the leaders right off the bat and stuff like that. And it's it's a 3-round tournament, so it probably wouldn't be televised really until the last 2 rounds. At that point in time, you're gonna have at least some separation between players. So our leaderboard right now, the leaders have not teed off right now. Zalatoris is at -5 and Piera is -8. These two guys, we'll talk a little bit about them in a moment because you really don't know who they are. They're pretty much new on the tour. Zalatora is the reigning Rookie of the Year.
I believe he played at Texas Tech when he played college.
He was at Wake Forest.
Oh, he's at Wake Forest.
He was another great golf school.
Yeah.
Just incredible golf school. You've got Justin Thomas at third place. He's at -6. He's my pick. And I picked him on FanDuel to win the tournament, so if he can pull it out. Justin Thomas hasn't won a PGA event, a major since 2017 when he won the PGA Championship. Bubba Watson.
Yeah, hey, I heard from Bubba in a while.
It's good to see Bubba up there. He's in fourth. He's at -5. Bubba had the low round yesterday of a 63. So Bubba is, Bubba's one of these guys, when he gets on a roll, his good play ends up magnifying, and I'd like to see him in the mix right down this stretch and see how he does. And then, of course, we can't forget Rory McIlroy. He's at -4. He was leading after the first round, and it looks like he'll be. I think he's going to be matched up with Bubba Watson today.
That'll be fun. That'll be a fun group.
Real fun twosome to watch. Today is moving day. So you're going to have to watch and see exactly what happens. The leaderboard is changing as we speak. Tiger Woods went out at +3 and unfortunately has had a rough time. And he is now +6 through 9 holes, as we said earlier.
Yeah, he moved the wrong way.
Yeah, he did. He most certainly did.
It's the first time, I want to say they said in his career, that he's double bogeyed a par 3 multiple times in an event.
Hole number 6.
Yep.
It's the toughest hole in the course, and the way the wind is blowing today, he had to hit right into the wind, and he found himself in a lot of trouble. Ended up triple bogeying. You don't really see Tiger triple bogey very often. So
you see me triple bogey. But maybe not Tiger Woods.
Exactly. Let's see if I can give you a little bit more insight on our leaders here. And I'm going to read this from just what I had here for Will Zalatoris. They talk about him and major championship conditions. The Wake Forest product has been terrific on golf's biggest stage in his young career, boasting a top four finishes in only 7 starts. He appears well on his way to adding his total and doing so in a serious manner. The second place guy is Mito Pereira, and he's at -8. There is a number of parallels between him and Zalatoris. Their statistic profiles are very similar. He's a Chilean golfer that came up from the Corn Ferry Tour last year. He was promoted. And for those of you that haven't ever had a chance to go see a Corn Ferry event, there's going to be one here up in Broomfield.
Okay.
And it'll be interesting. We'll cover it a little bit in June. I'm volunteering for it. I'll be up there as a marshal, riding around in my golf cart for 4 days. But it's going to be fun. And these guys are so tight. The talent level in golf is so tight that the Corn Ferry guys, just because they're not the top 125 in the world, doesn't mean that they're not fun to watch.
When you look at these two guys, if you pulled up DraftKings at the beginning of this event, these were not in the top 20 picks. And so that you're looking at these are crazy because I've heard people start betting like $2 here and there on these. But you're looking at probably +6,000, probably +4,000. You could easily win a good amount of money betting on the lower golfers because you never know what's going to happen. You don't know who's going to come out hot, who's the new kid on the block that comes in. That, DraftKings hasn't updated that they're like one of the top players. And it's just amazing to see because rarely, maybe Scheffler might be one of the few that is favored to win a PGA event and they actually win it. Yeah. It rarely is the number one guy. So golf, if you're looking to make a quick buck or maybe lose a couple, just bet minimal on some long shot golfers and anything can happen. These two definitely were not in the top 20 picked.
And this is what I did too. I picked 4 golfers, and unfortunately I picked 2 of them that didn't make the cut. I had Scotty Scheffler and I had Cantlay. They didn't make the cut. And I have Justin Thomas and I have John Rahm.
Yeah.
And I put down, I think, $2 or $3 on each one of these. So it ended up being basically a $10 bet for all 4 of them.
Well, and there is an option. Like, let's say these guys, for example, you get to make the cut might have been +1,000. So you could have bet $10 and made $100 by just betting that they make the cut. Now that making the cut, they just have to play I mean, you play well compared to me, but you just have to play basically average to make it with few mistakes.
Sure.
So find the safe golfer, pick him to make the cut, and you'll make some money off of it.
Absolutely. It's a chilly start down there today. It doesn't look like Oklahoma at all, but it looks like they got the weather that we had yesterday, and they're all out there with hats and gloves and everything else. We finally heard a little bit from Tiger, and I'll read some of the stuff that was posted in the Denver Post on Wednesday. Woods offers sharp rebuke of Mickelson. And we remember, let's just kind of go back and I'll just kind of read to you what Mickelson actually did. In February, Mickelson provoked a hailstorm of criticism after he acknowledged Saudi Arabia had a horrible record on human rights, including murder of the Washington Post journalist, but said he was still talking with and aiding the new tour because it was a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to apply pressure to the PGA.
Mm-hmm.
Now, Tiger is fiercely loyal to the PGA, and the PGA requires that because they're not allowing people to do any kind of crossovers for this new league. So that was basically what Tiger was saying is that he's letting Phil kind of stand alone, and he really is just distancing himself, as is almost all other PGA golfers, from Phil. Unfortunately, this could have been a great week for Phil because he's the defending champion. We saw something happen at Kiowa last year that was just unheard of.
Yeah, I had money on him.
52-year-old guy winning the PGA Tour championship was just, it should be something we are celebrating, and unfortunately, he's not even at the tournament.
Well, and I think Tiger's kind of forced to stand where he is because you look at all the controversy he's had over the last 7 years, whatever it's been. The PGA wasn't too kind to him, but you know what? At the end of the day, they still have him. They still stuck by him, still invited him back. And there's leagues where you do things and you're basically you're ostracized and you never make it back. So I think he was doing this to get back in the good graces of the PGA. I don't think it's personal to Phil. I just think it's something he needed to do.
Yeah, I think you're right on that too. And a lot of these guys, the reasons they're not speaking up is because all of their sponsorship agreements and everything is tied into the PGA. If the PGA Tour decides and says, look, you're not going to be able to play in our tournaments, then they're going to lose their sponsorships, and it really will turn them and may ruin their career.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of these guys are playing. It's not really that much difference between world number one and world number 125.
Yeah.
So, but it will be interesting. We'll kind of wait and see. But this is the first time we've had a chance to get any kind of comment either way from Tiger Woods. He usually kind of keeps his mouth pretty well shut when it comes to other golfers. One of the things we wanted to talk about is a female player for the WNBA, Maya Moore. She plays for the Minnesota Lynx, which is,
She's one of our star players.
Yep. And she basically has sat out the last 2 seasons, mainly in protest and also to help her husband out, Jeremy Irons. If you remember, or Jonathan Irons. If you remember, he was the one who was falsely accused of burglary and assault in 1998. And has been in prison and just was released actually in 2020.
Yeah.
So hats off to Maya Moore. We want to say, you know what, there's somebody right there that puts her money where her mouth is. She's working for a cause, and she got it. Of course, she ended up marrying the gentleman she was helping. I guess those two met back in 2007, and I bet you Jonathan is very thankful that he had such an advocate and had a chance for a retrial. And was acquitted.
Yeah, at the time she walked away, hats off to her for staying to a cause and especially to get him out. Yep. But she's definitely was in the top 10 of WNBA women's players. One of the amazing assets that the Minnesota Lynx have. Minnesota Lynx haven't been able to do a run without her. She's a fantastic player, a real leader on the court. It'll be interesting to see now that he's out, if she returns to the WNBA, or maybe not as a player, maybe she goes as a coach. We just don't know.
Well, she's a 4-time WNBA champion, and she was the 2014 MVP of the league.
Yeah.
So, we have to wait and see if she's got anything left in the tank.
Yeah, and maybe she just wants to spend time with her husband, and, completely understandable. But, I remember when she walked away, and it was a sad day in the WNBA because you lose. It'd be like, if you need to compare it to the NBA, it's like losing, Steph Curry on your team that just walks away from the game.
Right, or Kyrie Irving, you
yeah.
know, I mean, he couldn't play half the games this year because of the COVID protocol stuff.
Because she was definitely at like the height of her game. She was still a dominant force in the WNBA, and you know.
Well, it'll be interesting. It's interesting that with her coach being in her final season, that she didn't come back and play this season. But I guess it wasn't just, you know, it wasn't meant to be for her yet to do that. But it would have been nice to see her come back and be able to send her coach off into retirement.
Yeah.
So, what's going on with the Rapids? Any word on them at all?
Rapids, they just had a big win, big win followed by a crappy loss. They took on LAFC, one of the top teams in the MLS. They beat them 2-0. And then they go to Sporting Kansas, you know, kind of I'll say a middle of the road team. They're still decent. And we ended up losing 2-1. We got a red card. There was a skirmish. It's the big thing that with the Rapids all year so far. They're winning games that I don't think they should because I think the other team's more talented. And then we'll play basically a cupcake of a team, and we lose. They really need to find consistency out there on the field. The great thing about beating LAFC is our captain that we traded away is on that team, and we ended up being able to stick it to him when he came here.
Yeah.
But you know, Rapids, that's been their story for the last couple of years. They're very inconsistent. They need to find that consistency, and they can get right back to the top.
Excellent. Well, we want to remind people that this is a great stopping off place before you go to a Rapids game. The stadium's less than 2 miles from here, and we get a lot of people that come in before the Rapids games to have a couple cocktails before they head over to the game.
Yeah.
So, anything else that you got going on for sports? It's kind of it's kind of a short show today because we don't have a whole lot to talk about.
Yeah, we'll talk a little bit about UFC. There's an ongoing court case of Cain Velasquez. People may remember him. He was, I believe, the heavyweight champion at one point. He ended up fighting Dos Santos, and I think he got knocked out right away. That's in the Brock Lesnar area. He really hasn't fought anytime recently, but he is facing 20 years in prison because there was a man that molested, I believe it was either his niece or his daughter, and he went after him with a gun. Now, we don't condone violence or anything like that, but the judge has had some off-putting remarks in this, and a lot of UFC fighters are getting behind Cain Velasquez saying they hope the judge doesn't have the power and it goes to a jury because the judge is kind of set in her ways, and she has been basically condemning Cain Velasquez because he is a fighter in his occupation. Cain Velasquez has been an upstanding citizen. He is a big
it's a big draw?
Big draw and a big part of Mexican culture, a very proud people. Mexico love him. And so it's very interesting to see how this court case is going to play out. I don't know how it plays out. I don't know the whole story. I just know the little tidbits that I've read that's come up on ESPN or Newsbreak. But his trial is ongoing. We probably won't see this settled for a couple months.
Yeah.
I hope him the best. I hope that it does go to a jury and he gets a fair trial. But we still have those people set in their old ways. The judge can think whatever she wants, but I think she should have kept her comments to herself.
Yeah. Well, let's wish him and the best of luck, and especially his family too, in mind. What else do we have? Any food specials down here, brothers, today? So
no food specials today, but we do have our drink specials going on. We always have pitchers on special. Our shot special is the white gummy bear. Those have been flying off the shelf right now. And you know what? We got a great thing of sports going on today. The weather is better than yesterday. Still a little chilly.
Yeah.
But we have plenty of room inside, plenty of TVs.
Absolutely.
Make sure, like I said earlier, get down here and support the Colorado Avalanche. We need to get over this second round hump. If we get through the second round, I don't think there's much that can stop us. I'm not afraid of Edmonton or Calgary.
Right.
Calgary's coach had a comment a month ago saying he would not want to play the Colorado Avalanche in playoffs because it's a waste of 8 days.
Exactly.
So that is awesome.
That trended all over the place.
And, hopefully we can make it. I'm excited to see how this group of guys do. Joe Sakic, you're a mastermind. You've really added a lot of focal points, a lot of good pieces to this Avalanche team to make this run. So let's see if it pans out.
Excellent. Well, great. Well, again, we want to invite you guys to tune in next week. We'll be here again at 11 to 1 o'clock at Brothers up in the mezzanine section. feel free to come down and watch. We don't have anybody here today, but we, in the past, have had some people come in and watch, and it's been really, really a good experience.
Yeah, make sure you guys comment or ask any questions or pick topics that you want us to cover. We'll do the research, and we'll cover whatever you want to see. If we're missing something or you want a little bit more information on your sports teams, let us know.
Absolutely. Ladies out there too, any people you would like us to feature, let us know. We're going to get a talk to Cheyenne Shorts when she's back in the country. That's going to happen probably in the first week of June. She'll be in. I've talked to her mother. We're going to try to get her to come on, and we'll get a chance to see exactly how it is to play professional soccer in Scotland.
Mm-hmm.
So, all right, folks. Well, thank you very much for tuning in. We'll see you next week. So remember to get out there and earn it this week.
See you guys next week.
Yep.